What if I told you that everything you're afraid of, loss, pain, failure, even death, could lose its power over you if you mastered just one rule? The Stoics didn't run from fear. They didn't suppress it. They conquered it with clarity, logic, and a mindset that has endured for over 2,000 years. In today's video, we're unlocking one of the most powerful ancient Stoic principles, or rules so transformative that once it becomes part of your daily mindset, fear will no longer control your decisions, your emotions, or your destiny. But before we dive in, if you're someone who's on a journey to become more resilient, more disciplined, and more mentally unshakable, then you're in the right place. This is the Stoic Voice, a home for thinkers, warriors, and anyone tired of being ruled by fear and emotion. So, hit that subscribe button and join a community that's choosing virtue over comfort and wisdom over noise. Now let's dive in, master this Stoic rule, and fear nothing. Fear often begins in the mind, not in the moment. It's a projection, a shadow cast by a future that hasn't even arrived. The ancient Stoics knew this, and they approached fear not with panic, but with understanding. So, what's the secret? The secret is mastering your perception, learning to separate what's within your control from what's not. This is what Epictetus called the dichotomy of control. According to him, there are only two kinds of things in life: things within your control, your thoughts, actions, beliefs; things outside your control, like opinions, weather, illness, or the behavior of others. The Stoic rule is simple but powerful. If it's not in your control, don't waste energy fearing it. Instead, focus entirely on how you respond. Think about it. How much of your anxiety comes from trying to control things you never could in the first place? The job outcome, the health diagnosis, the opinions of others, the possibility of failure. By shifting your focus to your response, your character, and your virtue, you take back power. Fear loses its grip the moment you accept that life will unfold as it must, and your role is to meet it with courage. That's what made the Stoics so unshakable. They didn't fear what may come, they trained themselves to handle it. As Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." At the heart of Stoic philosophy lies one life-altering truth: we are not disturbed by things, but by our judgment of things. Epictetus, this principle is the foundation of fearlessness. The Stoics taught that suffering isn't in the event, it's in how we interpret it. Let's say you lose your job. Most people panic. What will I do now? How will I survive? But a Stoic stops, breathes, and separates the facts from the fear. The fact: you lost your job. The judgment: this is a disaster. The truth: the job loss is outside your control. But how you respond, that's entirely within your control. And that's where Stoic power begins: acceptance. Not passive resignation. Not giving up, but choosing to say, "This has happened. Now, what can I do with it?" This kind of radical acceptance frees you from wasting time wishing things were different. Instead, you face reality as it is, not as you hoped it would be. And in doing so, you reduce fear to something manageable, something you can work with. Epictetus even compared life to a ship's voyage. You don't control the wind or the waves. You only control the sail, the direction, and your attitude. As he put it, make the best use of what is in your power, and take the rest as it happens. So the next time fear creeps in, stop and ask yourself, is this within my control? If not, let it go. If yes, take action without panic. And remember, this is the foundation. Every Stoic strength is built on this rule. A blazing fire makes flame and brightness out of everything that is thrown into it. Marcus Aurelius, this is not just acceptance. This is something deeper, something bolder. It's called Amor Fati, Latin for love of fate. Not just enduring what happens, not just tolerating difficulty, but embracing it. Even loving it as fuel for your fire. To the Stoics, everything life throws at you, loss, failure, betrayal, illness, is raw material, and your job is to use it, to turn it into wisdom, to turn it into strength, to turn it into you. Marcus Aurelius didn't pray for things to go his way. He prayed to meet every challenge with virtue, with patience, courage, justice, and self-control. Think about the power in that shift. From "why is this happening to me?" to "this is happening for me to grow, to sharpen, to become unbreakable." This is why the Stoics weren't afraid of suffering, because every hardship was seen as a teacher, every setback an opportunity for inner triumph. Nietzsche admired this so much. He said, "My formula for greatness in a human being is Amor Fati, that one wants nothing to be different, not forward, not backward, not in all eternity. That's freedom. That's fearlessness. When you master Amor Fati, nothing surprises you, nothing weakens you, because everything, even pain, becomes a path to power. So the next time life knocks you down, remember this Stoic mantra: not only must I accept it, I will love it." He robs present ills of their power who has perceived their coming beforehand. Seneca, while the world tells you to stay positive and never think negative thoughts, the Stoics practiced the opposite on purpose. They called it premeditatio malorum, premeditation of evil. In simpler terms, visualize what could go wrong before it happens, but not to obsess, not to spiral, to prepare. Every morning, Stoics would mentally rehearse what could go wrong. I may be insulted today. I might lose money. My loved ones might suffer. I could fail at something important. Why would they do this? Because fear feeds on surprise. When the worst catches you off guard, panic wins. But if you've already imagined it calmly, rationally, without emotion, you're no longer a victim of shock. You're a warrior who saw it coming. Seneca wrote that a wise person rehearses their misfortunes, so when they arrive, they hit softer. This practice gives you psychological armor. You no longer fear what if, because you've already met what if in your mind. And here's the twist: this doesn't make you gloomy. In fact, it makes you grateful. Because when you realize how fragile life is, you start to cherish everything more deeply: your time, your relationships, your health. Try it tomorrow. Before your day begins, imagine a few realistic obstacles. Then say to yourself, if this happens, I'll endure it. I'll face it like a Stoic. That's how you build unshakable peace, by practicing misfortune before it arrives. You could leave life right now. Let that determine what you do, say, and think. Marcus Aurelius: nothing humbles the human spirit like the thought of death. And the Stoics didn't fear, they meditated on it daily. They called it Memento Mori. Remember that you must die, not as a morbid obsession, but as a way to strip fear of its illusion. Because here's the hard truth: we spend so much of our lives fearing things that, in the shadow of death, are meaningless. That awkward conversation, that career failure, that loss of reputation, even pain itself. But when you remember that you are mortal, everything becomes clearer. You stop postponing courage. You stop chasing approval. You stop fearing things that don't actually matter. Marcus Aurelius, an emperor surrounded by power and luxury, still reminded himself every day that he could die at any moment. Why? Because he knew that death is the great equalizer. It comes for the rich and poor, the wise and foolish, the strong and weak. To accept death is to become untouchable by fear. Seneca even said, "He who fears death will never do anything worthy of a living man." Memento Mori is not about giving up. It's about waking up to the urgency of now, waking up to what truly matters, waking up to live fully, not fearfully. So the next time fear rises in your chest, remind yourself, I am alive now, and that is enough. Let death guide your focus, not steal your joy. Set aside a certain number of days, during which you shall be content with the scantiest and cheapest fare, with coarse and rough dress, saying to yourself, Is this the condition I feared? Seneca: fear often thrives in comfort. The Stoics knew this well, so they deliberately trained themselves to suffer, not recklessly, not to show off, but to build mental toughness through voluntary hardship. Seneca, one of the richest men in Rome, would occasionally sleep on the floor, wear rags, and eat basic food not because he had to, but because he wanted to learn. If this is the worst, can I survive it? The answer was always yes. This is how the Stoics disarmed fear. They didn't wait for life to hit them. They hit themselves first with discipline. Modern comforts have made us mentally soft. We fear discomfort because we never taste it voluntarily. But when you choose hardship, something powerful happens. You stop fearing what might happen, because you've already practiced it. And each time you endure it, your brain rewires itself. You stop asking, what if I can't, and start saying, even if I do, I'll survive it. Try this. Skip a meal intentionally. Sleep without a pillow. Take a cold shower. Walk instead of drive. Small choices, big shift. You'll begin to realize your comfort zone is not your friend, it's your prison. And every act of voluntary struggle is a key. As Epictetus said, difficulties show men what they are, so if you want to fear nothing, stop avoiding discomfort, train for it, live through it, rise above it. Do not seek for things to happen the way you want them to, rather, wish that what happens happen the way it happens. Then you will be happy. Epictetus: at the root of fear is attachment to results, recognition, control. We obsess over how things should turn out, and when life dares to move differently, we panic. But the Stoics had a liberating principle: detach from the outcome. Focus on your effort, your intention, your character, and let go of the rest. This doesn't mean you stop caring. It means you stop clinging. Let's say you prepare for a job interview. The Stoic approach is: prepare with discipline, show up with virtue, accept the result whether you're hired or not, without ego or despair, because the truth is, you never control the outcome anyway. Only your preparation, only your actions, only your response. This detachment makes you fearless because it kills the root of anxiety. What if I fail? What if they reject me? What if I don't win? When you're no longer addicted to a specific result, you're free to act boldly, not desperately. Marcus Aurelius put it beautifully: if you are distressed by anything external, the pain is not due to the thing itself, but to your estimate of it, and this you have the power to revoke at any moment. This is real power, not in getting what you want, but in remaining steady when you don't. So the next time you feel fear rising because things aren't going your way, pause and ask, did I do my part with virtue? If yes, then walk away in peace. That's the Stoic way. If you want to improve, be content to be thought foolish and stupid. Epictetus: the Stoics believed in one ultimate good, not wealth, not power, not comfort, but virtue. And they believed that fear, anger, jealousy, and anxiety all come from one thing: letting emotion rule where virtue should lead. Emotions aren't evil, but they're impulsive. They demand immediate reaction. They distort truth. They urge you to run, hide, or attack without wisdom. The Stoics taught us to pause, to ask in any situation, not how do I feel, but what is the virtuous thing to do? Should I act with courage instead of fear? Self-control instead of impulse? Justice instead of vengeance? Wisdom instead of panic? This is the Stoic superpower. You don't deny your emotions, you train them. You teach your mind to sit at the wheel, and your emotions to sit in the back seat. Think of Marcus Aurelius, ruling an empire, dealing with betrayal, war, loss. He didn't let emotion guide him. He asked one question, over and over: what does my nature require me to do as a rational being? Fear loses its grip when your choices are anchored in virtue, not feelings. Because here's the truth: you cannot always choose what you feel, but you can always choose how you act. This shift from emotion to virtue is what transforms ordinary people into stoic warriors. It's what makes you dependable when others are chaotic. It's what makes you brave when others run. So next time fear knocks, don't ask, "How do I feel?" Ask, "What would virtue do?" Waste no more time arguing what a good man should be. Be one. Marcus Aurelius. It's one thing to admire Stoic ideas. It's another to live them in the chaos of everyday life. So, how do you master this Stoic rule of fearlessness in the modern world? Start small. Because Stoicism isn't about grand philosophy, it's about daily action. Here's how you begin. 1. Practice the dichotomy of control. Every time something stresses you out, pause and ask, "Is this in my control?" If yes, take action. If no, release it. That alone can eliminate half of your anxiety. 2. Do one hard thing daily. Take the stairs. Fast for morning. Speak an uncomfortable truth. Voluntary discomfort builds an internal fortress. 3. Write a morning reflection each day. Ask yourself, what might go wrong today? How will I respond with virtue? What fear can I face calmly? This turns Stoicism into muscle memory. 4. Detach from results. Apply for the job. Share your work. Tell your truth. But don't cling to the outcome. Let go and trust that your worth is not measured by results but by your response. 5. Live with Memento Mori. Remind yourself each day, "I could leave life right now." Use it not to fear death but to fuel purpose. Because when you live like time is limited, fear becomes irrelevant, regret becomes avoidable, and courage becomes natural. This is how you master the Stoic rule today, not by reading, but by doing. And if you fall, get up. That's part of the practice too. The obstacle is the way, yes, even in a noisy, uncertain world. If you want to be invincible, then enter into no contest in which it is not in your power to conquer. Epictetus. Let's bring it all together. Fear dominates most lives not because the world is terrifying, but because we've forgotten what we control. But once you master this ancient Stoic rule, to focus only on what is within your power, fear begins to fade. You stop being rattled by opinions. You stop being paralyzed by failure. You stop waiting for life to be perfect before you take bold steps. You become something rarer than fearless. You become prepared, prepared to endure, prepared to act, prepared to live. Come what may, it's not about suppressing fear, it's about transcending it, through discipline, through virtue, through clarity of thought. This is the ancient Stoic path, and it's open to you right now. So, if you want more of this kind of grounded, practical, soul-deep wisdom, if you're ready to build resilience, clarity, and courage in a chaotic world, subscribe to the Stoic Voice right now. Join a growing tribe of people like you choosing to live by reason, not reaction. Because the truth is this, once you master this rule, you won't fear anything ever again. Let's walk the path together.